Hello out there in the gaming world. Welcome to a new edition of East Meets West Gaming. I'm CdrMcNeil, your host, and today we'll be doing Star Citizen again, specifically taking a look at the EmW Gladiator, brand new addition to Star Citizen, the latest flyable ship and the latest bomber to hit the Star Citizen lineup of ships. Now, this ship comes to us from EmW, same manufacturers of the Hornet, and it's fairly similar dimensions, though it is definitely a bit beefier than its cousin, the Super Hornet and Hornet series. So, this ship just came out, and they're also offering a limited time sale with 6 months insurance attached to it, and it's running for about $165. Now, it is the same price as the Super Hornet right now. And so maybe some of you are wondering, well, which one should I get if it's available to me, if you have the money to spend? You know, as with all things available in Star Citizen, let's not forget that all of these ships will be available for in-game currency at launch. So, if you don't feel the need to go run out and purchase something like this, if you don't have the cash or just don't feel like, spending $165 on an internet spaceship. Now, granted, you're not spending necessarily $165 on the spaceship. That's kind of your thank you for pledging to support the development of the game. So, let's look at the specs and the ship itself, just kind of the overall layout, design, and its mission profile. So, primary thing to realize is that this, first and foremost, is a bomber. This is a long-range bomber, though not in the same class as, say, the Retaliator, of course. The Retaliator is a multi-crew, almost like a light warship, meant to engage capital ships at range. The Gladiator fulfills kind of more of the old school like dive bomber, torpedo bomber role. Something that to give it an equivalent from, say, the Second World War, something like the Dauntless or Helldiver style bombers, where you've got a two-man crew, one pilot, kind of bombardier sort of role, and the other is a top turret gunner whose primary job is to keep enemy fighter screens off of you. Now, if you are piloting it solo, the turret is slaved to your controls, just like any other gimbaled or turreted weapon, just like on the Super Hornet. So you're not limited to, or essentially forced to have two players on board to be able to utilize all the firepower at your disposal. However, having the turret manned could definitely give you an added bonus in terms of greatly increasing your arc of fire, primarily because it is really difficult to kind of bring the weapons to bear in a dogfight situation. And naturally so. This thing is a bomber. It is not meant to go out as a primary space superiority fighter. It's just not built for that role. So whether or not you get it or not is going to come down to what kind of role are you looking your ship to, if you're looking at the EmW line in the first place. Now, one thing they mentioned for this ship in particular is that it could be potentially a little more versatile than some of its Hornet brethren, particularly with regards to the bomb bay, which we'll take a walk over and look at. Now, the bomb bay carries 4 torpedoes, bombs, varying munitions. They're going to be anti-capital ship style weapons, similar to the Retaliator, but a little, quite frankly, a lot in comparison to the torpedoes on that thing, lower in yield. So this thing is good when used en masse, but could severely cripple ships like a Retaliator or lighter freighters like the Constellation or Banu merchantman. But when you're going up against ships like the Idris or the Javelin, you may want a few of these things along for the ride to kind of be able to penetrate defenses and deliver that heavy payload. However, that bomb bay can also be repurposed to be a kind of a light cargo hold. So if you're looking for kind of a heavy-duty, longer range, all-round ship, this may not be a bad place to start. However, compared to some of the other more like the starter ships and a lot of the other all-round ships, the one that comes to mind first is the Avenger. It's pricey and will probably be pricey in-game as well. So it's going to be, it's kind of a, I'll be honest, I have this ship right now as a rec purchase. So I'm testing it, flying it around, getting some stick time with it, and I am very much on the fence with this kind of ship and its design. And to be honest, I don't feel like I personally will be picking one up, but I could see how an organization could definitely make good use of these, particularly organizations that don't necessarily have access to, say, the Retaliator. You know, a flight of these things could do some serious damage to any capital ship. Heck, and they can hold their own in a dogfight, to be sure. I mean, when you're getting swarmed, you know, the lack of maneuverability does start to hamper you, especially if you're trying to turn and, you know, bring your weapons to bear. You can actually flip this thing around pretty quick. It's just that your forward motion is going to continue to drag you in the direction you were going. So it's almost going to feel like you're in decoupled mode most of the time, even if you're not. So the thing does lurch about quite a bit. But once you do bring those weapons to bear, it's carrying two bearing, I think it's M3As, lasers, and then a set of CF007 Badger repeaters. So it's got some fairly decent laser armament. You know, we're not relying on ammunition weapons. A lot of kind of carryover from the Super Hornet lineup, so a pretty good weapons lineup. What's really nice are the missiles here. It carries 8 total, 4 each side. So there's quite a formidable missile armament, and they're not heat-seeking like most of the missiles you see equipped on ships. They seek out signatures, particularly EM, so they're EM seeking. So they're going to cause guys to dump a lot of chaff when you fire them. But they seem to be really accurate, even when kind of just fired off from the hip. I'm able to get these things on target pretty easily. So the missile armament actually is very impressive, and it's a lot of missiles. So I mean, you're able to bring quite a bit of firepower to bear. It's just the trick is bringing it to bear. So you'll be able to hold your own. You'll survive for most of it. I mean, it's got some really good shields, pretty heavy armor, but once again, it's very easy for you to get outmaneuvered by some of the faster fighters out there, which is the majority. So I would not pick this ship up if you're looking to try to get yourself some sort of like heavy-duty dogfighter. That's not what this thing's built for. If you're looking for something like that, go for a Super Hornet. Go for, or any of the other standard Hornet lineup. Or look at, if you're looking for something cheaper, look at, say, the Mustang Delta, or one of the 300 series in some cases. So there's a lot of different cheaper, kind of better options available for you in the space superiority range. That said, you're looking for a bomber, this is probably a really good place to start. I mean, it's the only real starter bomber on deck right now, and offers a really good, you know, segue into multiplayer ships. You know, so if you and a buddy, you want to go out and explore the furthest reaches, and, you know, haul some cargo and kind of use this thing as like a Constellation light. I mean, extremely light, mind you, but, you know, hey, why not? It is your ship. You do it with what you will. But, you know, be prepared to realize that that's what kind of ship you're purchasing. You know, you are purchasing a slow, hard to maneuver bomber. It can take a lot of punishment because it's got to get to its target, but, you know, you're not going to be dogfighting with this thing. So, alright, so with that said, let's take a look. So first we're going to go into the back of it. Now, the animations are kind of glitched. I'm not going to lie. And sometimes when you get over to this, actually, let me, before I jump into stuff, this pylon extends down when you're landing. And the forward pilot seat and the aft gunner seat are both connected to this pylon and will drop down for you to hop into, which is a great solution to what they had compared to the PTU. Now, the PTU, they had an issue where both seats would drop down. So it's like, okay, do you need the gunner and the pilot to hop in simultaneously? I mean, that kind of would create a bit of an issue. Well, here, because the two seats are independently mounted, there's really no force to, oh, I have to get in at the exact same time as the pilot. So it makes it a little easier for two crews to get on board. However, the animations are a little glitched, and don't be surprised if you see myself or the chair itself kind of clip through the cockpit here as I bring it down. But here we go. Let's see if we can, you know, see, suddenly I just jumped up into the turret there, and now I'm okay. Well, there I am getting into the seat, and up I go. So the animations are a little weird right now, but it is kind of cool. You bring it up and then it fully locks you into place, then swings the turret around, and there we are. I don't know how I got my camera changed like that, but okay. So, for the first time ever, whoa, we can turn the turret. Look at that. You can turn the turret. Now, the turret, of course, swings around pretty slowly, so, you know, you and the pilot are going to have some good coordination to be able to bring weapons to bear, you know, especially if you're being chased. But if you're in that, you know, terminal phase, I'm charging the enemy ship, dive bomber roll, you know, you don't really need that much, you know, articulation, or really high speed articulation, if you will, on this aft turret. Because most guys are going to come in on your tail, and you're going to be able to just fire after you. Now, one thing I did notice, if you bring the weapons down all together, you are not actually hitting your own ship. You cannot accidentally shoot the tail off your own ship. You can't play, you know, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and play Indy's dad and accidentally shoot the tail off your own ship. It does not work that way. Which, I mean, is pretty good, because some guy is probably going to try to shoot that thing and end up killing himself. So, now, whether they change that or not remains to be seen, but for now, you can't shoot your own ship, so that doesn't happen. Pretty good articulation. You can't fire straight up. You know, there is a limit to how far your reticle can go. You know, you've got a negative decline, which actually is pretty good. You can actually get it right past the nose. And to put it in perspective, let me drop the camera in front, see if I can't zoom out here. And I'll try to start shooting, and you kind of see where the rounds will lie on. So you see you can get some pretty good depression on the guns here. But of course, you know, at that point you really can't see your target. So that, you know, that creates some issues there. Let me try to look up here again. See, now I got it stuck. There we go. You're able to force it down like that, but so there's the max depression on the guns, and then the max elevation. And I'm swinging my mouse around pretty fast, but you'll note that there is that delay. So you kind of look at your target, give it some time. So you got to kind of slowly lead your target. You will get the, as I understand, you will eventually get the. Actually, you do get, the lead pips and things of that nature, so you know where your weapons fire is going to be going. Your target's going to show up in the center screen there that's right in front of you. And they do have, of course, the... they're Bulldogs, not Badgers. I apologize. Badgers are 117s. And you've got the status, you know, you see the heat bar filling up. So, all in all, pretty cool that, you know, our turrets are now working like that. And with the latest patch, of course, the top turret on the Cutlass also is working. So, pretty cool for you guys to get some... Yeah, here we go. Now it's breaking in. I'm going down sideways. Oh, I'm doing this. And out I go. Okay, now into the forward pilot seat. You'll note here, actually, you leave it alone long enough, there it goes, it just automatically drops back up. So, pretty cool. Okay. Pilot seat coming down. Hop on in, and up we go. Okay, you're going to notice that unlike the Hornet, you know, the Mustang line, the Auroras, anything, this is a fairly restrictive cockpit. Yeah, I'm kind of glitching about a little bit, so let me actually take off here.
Takeoff complete. Shields full.
There we go. Okay, so as you'll know, the field of view is a little restrictive. But, you know, if you're making a rush on a capital ship, you know, that visibility may not be, you know, too bad. Having flown this thing in a few dogfights, actually, I found that even though it's not as open as, say, the Mustang or the 300 series or the Hornets, it's not as restrictive as I thought it would be. When I first hopped into the cockpit of this thing, I thought, oh my god, I'm never going to be able to see my target at all. And that's actually not been the case. I've been able to keep guys in this front window here and be able to bring my weapons to bear pretty easily. So let's see if this thing actually... There we go. Or not. There we go. For some reason it decoupled me. Okay, so we'll bring it up to full speed. And we'll try maneuvering through the asteroids here, and you'll notice, you know, here I am, I'm going to swing it around really hard. And you see I'm still drifting pretty heavily. So, naturally, you're not going to be able to throw the stick around on this thing. You're going to have to kind of be gentle in your movements if you really want to kind of maintain control. I mean, this is kind of the maximum amount of turn you can really get into at full speed. Now naturally, you drop the speed, you're going to be, it's a little more easy to kind of get your turns. You can kind of swing it around a little more violently and it'll come to bear more quickly. But, you're not going to be able to fly this thing around like a fighter. It's not. So there's the M4As from bearing. And the Badgers.
Forward proximity alert.
And then my Anvil S2s, of course you'll note, are all listed as no name for some reason. But, small bugs. The shields are actually pretty powerful, I found. But under sustained fire they wilt pretty quick. So if you're getting chased by a Super Hornet, that's kind of this thing's kryptonite. Just all that firepower hitting you at the same time, it's just not able to really put up with the punishment. Of course, as with all the new ships that have been coming out, the detail that they're putting into the cockpits, the landing gear, it's really at a whole nother level. And I'm really impressed with it. I'm glad to see that they're adding that bit of polish, adding that small bit of realism. And you can definitely tell that whoever does the ship designs for whichever ship that is, there's a lot of passion that goes into it. There's a lot of heart. So we'll bring the ship back in for a landing. We'll take one final walk around. It kind of grows on you, I'll be honest. I'm going to have to seriously think for the next couple days on whether or not I want to actually get this thing or not. I mean, I have a Retaliator already in hangar, but it's, yes, they're both bombers, but they definitely fulfill different roles. And if I kind of want a little bit more of a heavier, kind of independent bomber, this might be the best way to go. I'm still not sure. I'm leaning against it, but the more and more I mess around with this thing, the more I come to like it. It's kind of this like, it's like what people used to call the A6 Intruder. It was buff. It's just, well, not buff. It was, they called it a few other things actually, but it's just one of those ugly duckling kind of ships that you just start liking the more you mess with it. If you ever saw the movie Flight of the Intruder, there's a scene where they're arguing in a bar between bomber and fighter pilots, and the fighter pilots are naturally making fun of the bomber guys, and the bomber guy comes back with, fighter pilots make movies, but bomber pilots make history. So, if you're one of those guys, if you feel that you're more of an A6 driver at heart rather than a Tomcat driver, then this may be very well the ship for you. Well, that's all I have to share with you folks this week. I hope you have enjoyed the slight, kind of small tour and pilot demonstration. It is available in the rec store, so if you've got the rec, I would recommend that you get it that way. Give it a try, fly it around, see how you feel about it, and then if you're willing after that to throw out real money. I would definitely give this thing a test drive before spending money on it. The Super Hornet's also going to be available, I think, just those who are subscribers, to be able to rent through rec as well, so you can give that ship a try and really feel if you want to grab that as well. If you own a Super Hornet and you like this and you really don't want to shell out the money, you can do a cross-chassis upgrade for free. So that's something for you to consider if you're thinking about maybe dumping your Super Hornet and want to use the Gladiator. Best way to go about it would probably be the cross-chassis upgrade. Alright, please leave your thoughts, comments below. Tell me how much of an idiot I am, whatever that is, hey, have fun with it. If you like what you're seeing, don't hesitate to like and subscribe, and I will see you around the verse.